Well, top of the morning to ya. I know it's been a bit, but we've had some changes in the family. We ended up getting our house sold. We got a dog. We also got a fifth wheel. So here we are. Um, we are slowly heading to our mountain. And of course, that's going to be where all the fun happens. Homesteading, it's a process. Of course, it's snowing. It is March after all, St. Patty's Day. And I thought I'd kind of give you a little insight to what we do at St. Patty's Day. Yes, I am 75% Irish, as you could tell, a little bit of red. So of course we like to do some corned beef and cabbage on St. Patty's Day. A lot of times I'll do a canning potatoes. If anybody is familiar with that, it's potatoes and cabbage basically. The corned beef, I like to do a brine, and I just did the brine and I dumped it out. But the basics are salt, your variety of pickling spices, and you're basically just boiling that and putting it in over a brisket, a nice cut of brisket, and then you're keeping that there for probably 3 to 5 days. Some people take it out longer. Mine has been in its brine since Friday. This is Wednesday, and now we're throwing it in the slow cooker. So as you can see here, I'm going to bring you on over. This is what's left after brining, and as you can see, it's got a few little spots. I'm rinsing it off. That was the leftovers. Kind of, but it looks a lot better when it's on your plate, believe me. And then this here, I'm preparing my pot of veggies. So I have a bit of potatoes, carrots, celery, onion, and some sage. Now, a lot of times I like to use sage that's fresh, but ground sage is fine. Right now I'm just trying to rinse off the brining liquid, and then I'm going to start that with a slow boil to just kind of get some of that salt out. We don't like to over salt our meat. And then I'm going to do that for about 30 minutes. I'm going to simmer, and then we'll stick it in the pot for probably around 5 hours, 5 to 8 on a slow boil. So you don't want to boil it because that's what makes the meat tough. But in any case, this is the process. So hope you guys are having a happy St. Patty's Day, and I'll be right back with a few pieces and parts to this process. So I'm not sure if you can quite see, but there's the cutting board. And I have done a bit of a rinse on the brisket. It's a nice cut of brisket. I rinse it a little bit more here. I kind of do a little bit of warm water just because it's easier. I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of just cut into this fat cap a little bit more, just to trim back some of this fat that we really don't need. Doesn't add much to the party. So we just want to kind of trim back that a little bit so we can get ourselves a good cut of meat. So we don't really need that stuff. There's a lot of marbling that comes with your brisket. And as you can tell, this stuff, all it's going to do is just add calories pretty much, which here in the US, we could use less calories. So just kind of take off some of those pieces that just really don't add much. See how there's a lot of fat on this, on the inside, that you're not going to miss much of this. It's just going to take out some of the toughness. The whole idea with corned beef and brisket is that it's cooked long and slow, and it's not boiled, because that's what makes your meat tough. Also, cheap meat makes your meat tough. So I like to try to just grab as much of this fat as I can, just what I see, especially this hard stuff that's no good. Watch your fingers. Make sure you're not getting any of that in there. And when you do cut brisket, make sure you go against the grain, of course. As with anything, if you don't, you will get a tougher chew. I'm gonna get some of this hard fat out of here. So next step, we're gonna set this up to boil and boil out some of that salt that was in the brine, and then we're gonna throw it in the pot and cook it for a couple hours. So I'll be back. Now all we're doing here, like I mentioned, is just putting it to boil, getting some of that salt out. I put some hot water, I rinsed it, and here we're gonna just put it on a simmer. So it doesn't need to be quite far up, maybe mid-range. And that way you can simmer this out a little bit, and then it'll go right into the crock pot. So we'll be back. Okay, my wee darlings. Now that I have cleaned up a little bit, I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about the brine. So a lot of people get this brine and it's at the store, and they take it out of the liquid and they throw it in the pot and they cook it with some potatoes and carrots and call it good, like they've done their part for St. Patty's Day. But really, it's not going to give you a good flavor. You're going to have over-salted meat. If you cook it too little, it's not going to be tender enough. So what I do is I brine my own for that reason. I'll take all the ingredients and put it in a pot and let it sit for a few days, but then you want to rinse it and you want to boil it out a little bit of that salt. Traditionally, the salted meat was a way to preserve it, and that's traditionally what the Irish had available to them. It was, you know, basically Irish soup. They say that the Irish, they are going to come with a fork, not a spoon. So anyway, thought I'd give you a little bit of history and the reason why you want to boil out that. So it starting to boil, and it should be a few minutes now, probably another 20 minutes, and then we'll put it in the pot and start it up. Okay, she's in the brine in the crock pot now. My brine is just hot water, little seasonings, and a little bouillon, which is in there already. And that's it. The seasonings are same stuff, you know, you have coriander, under whole cloves, I got allspice, little ginger, little yellow mustard seed, and of course the thyme ground I used rather than your typical fresh. I think part of it is because ground just, it blends a little better. You don't want to be picking that stuff out of your teeth. Oh, and I put 3 bay leaves in there, so should be nice, good broth. And underneath, of course, is the potatoes and carrots, and then we put a little celery and garlic and the shallots. So we're gonna let that cook. Throw this down, and we're gonna let it cook, slow cook on low for the next 8 hours. It's gonna be yummy. We'll come back tonight, show you what we got. Next step for me, soda bread and cannon potatoes. So now after a little cleanup, I'm gonna start making some other items to go with our St. Patty's Day dinner. But I just wanted to say it's really easy to make St. Patty's Day food. I mean, corned beef and cabbage. It's pretty simple. Just think of it like making a roast. It's kind of the same concept, only you're brining it in some good stuff like you would with a turkey for Thanksgiving dinner. But it is a celebration because my family, we're Irish, and we like the good foods, good soul, home-cooked meals. So, top of the morning to you. So I just put in some quartered cabbage, and this stuff is just falling apart. It's really tender. So it's going to be amazing. It's got about an hour 45 left, but definitely looking forward to this tonight. And as you can see, very tender and juicy she is. Cutting against the grain, that's the way to do it. That is a little too big, that slice. Nah. Still, very good. And then the rest we'll put in soup. Or we'll put in a bowl and call it good. And have a safe and happy St. Patty's Day.